What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Cashed Out, and excited to be able to talk with you guys today about the Canon EOS R6 rig that I've been using for all my video shoots. Now, the R6 is a phenomenal camera, and I love it. I've used it for a while, really love using this camera. And when it comes to using the R6 and doing video shoots, I was using the Ronin RSC2 for a lot of my video shoots, and the RSC2 is fantastic. It's a phenomenal gimbal, but I kind of ran into an issue. I kept running into the issue with using that gimbal and using telephoto lenses. When using zoom lenses, I found myself in a scenario where it was slowing my workflow down, and that's just for me personally. I know it's not for everybody. You know, some people are really good at readjusting and rebalancing on the go, but whenever you use a zoom lens, you kind of have to readjust and rebalance that gimbal in order to make sure, you know, the motors aren't going wonky. So that really slowed me down a lot because I'm more of like a very meticulous and detailed person. So I would just like measure it, make sure it's just right, and go through all of that stuff. But that slowed down my workflow. So I wanted something that was a lot simpler. And thanks to the R6 having that IBIS, that in-body stabilization, and combine that with the 70-200 RF lens that I was using, there was a ton of stabilization in place that made sure that that could give me quality footage without really having to worry too much about, you know, having a gimbal on it and things like that. Now, there are some particular shots that you can only get with a gimbal, but I felt like I could really get away with 90% of my shoots without having to use the gimbal. So I decided to go ahead and rig out my Canon EOS R6 and basically use that rig to do all my shoots instead of using the gimbal. And I'll have to say, I absolutely love it. I think it's probably the best decision for me to be able to do it that way, because having that rig, it's a lot quicker and a lot simpler for me to be able to just kind of plug in my camera, run and gun, switch it up if I need to for photos, but still have that flexibility. So I wanted to be able to kind of walk through the rig and walk through the steps on the components that I use to rig out my R6. So if you're in the position where you're looking to set up a rig for your Canon R6, you can basically see what I've done and maybe copy it or tweak it up a little bit. So let's go ahead and start walking through the rig here real quick. I actually was using the R6 to record this video, actually record the B-roll with the R6. So unfortunately, you're not gonna see the R6 in the rig, but you'll see basically 90% of the rig except for the camera. So let's go ahead and walk through that rig and see what we got set up here. Now, the first component of the rig is the SmallRig cage for the R6, and I love the quality of the SmallRig tools. I mean, you'll notice a lot of the equipment that I've used on this rig come from SmallRig, and they do a great job in terms of their components. I haven't had any quality issues with them. They're very solid, and this cage is absolutely fantastic. It does a really good job of putting the R6 in there, but still giving me access to like the battery port, access to the cable ports, everything that I really need to. I can switch out the cards. I can do everything that I need to do with the camera while it's in the cage. Very smart design, very useful in terms of what SmallRig did there. So that's why I really like this company. I love SmallRig. Not sponsored. This video is not sponsored by SmallRig in any way, shape, and form. But if they are listening, call me. But anyway, moving on to the next component here. The next component I'm going to talk about is the USB and HDMI cable clamp. Now, this is very tiny. It's like a $20 part from SmallRig, but basically what this clamp does is allows you to be able to, once you've plugged in your HDMI cable into your R6, this clamp ties onto that cable and protects it from bumps and anything that would basically cause that cable to be broken off. And now you have a tip of the cable broken off in your camera. Now, this clamp is super handy. It actually has a port for your USB cable, but also the HDMI cable. This component is very crucial, but it's something that you don't really think about. But if you've ever had in your life, ever had a case where you've had a USB cable break off within your tech, it's not fun at all. It's a terrible feeling. It's a terrible scenario. So you want to just try and avoid that altogether. This basically prevents that cable from being able to snap off, that tip from being able to snap off within your camera, and it allows you to be able to just have that peace of mind. So it's not a necessary component in your rig, but for me, I just didn't want to take that risk. So this component works in really well, and it plugs directly onto that SmallRig cage perfectly. The next component we're going to talk about is the Arca Swiss quick release base and clamp. Now, this is really handy handy because this allows you to be able to attach your camera to the rig, but also be able to quickly take it out. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we move on here. But making sure that you have an Arca Swiss type, it's very handy because a lot of different tripods and stands work really well with that Arca Swiss standard. So this just makes it very convenient for you. But that Arca Swiss base and clamp, for me, I got a different base and clamp combination, and I actually switched it out and used another one, and I'll link it in the description below, because the one that I got, it was an Arca Swiss standard, but I didn't like the locking mechanism. It's one of those weird where you twist it and then you can actually pull it back and then twist it again. It's very odd, it's very awkward. So I got rid of that one and just decided to use a different one that's just more of you just twist it. It's almost like a little wheel, and you just twist it to tighten it, and twist it the other way to loosen it up. So I'll link that in the description, as I mentioned. But having that base plate and that clamp makes it super easy to be able to get your cage on and off the rig. And the way to be able to support that and make that move a little bit smoother is the next component on this rig here, and this is the SmallRig camera base plate with the rod clamps. Now this is where we're starting to get into kind of like the heart and foundation of this rig, but this base allows you to be able to plug in your Arca Swiss clamp on top and basically allow you to be able to put the rod rails through it. So it's kind of the foundation of the entire rig, honestly. So a lot of things are going to be working off of this base plate right here. As I mentioned, this base plate works really well with that Arca Swiss quick release plate, and basically this allows you to be able to do, if you're doing photos and videos with your camera, you can be able to quickly go from rigged out and plugged into the rig here, and just basically unscrew it and take the camera off the rig but still keep the rig intact. Now this saves you time. I had to do this several times when I was doing a shoot recently down in Louisville, and this allowed me to be able to quickly take my camera off the rig and be able to still keep the rig set up, the core parts of the rig set up, so I can get back to it quickly. But it allowed me the flexibility to be able to keep my camera on hand for photos and to be able to do a lot of quick shorts. So quick release clamp, definitely super handy, and attaching it to this base is another awesome step. So now we're starting to have the rig truly form up. We've kind of got the base plate, we've got the camera cage. Now we're going to start putting in the rails, and the rails are crucial because they're basically holding everything in place. Now the rails that I chose to use are these SmallRig 12-inch aluminum alloy rods. Now these rods are awesome. They go right through that base plate that we talked about earlier, and basically they clamp on and they allow you to be able to attach essentially everything else that we're going to need to power the rig and also to be able to support the camera, which we're going to talk about here in the next step. Now one thing that I do like to have on my rig, and you don't have to have it, but I think it's super handy, is the rod mount lens support. Now this allows you to be able to support the camera lens that you plug in on there, and especially if you're using a zoom lens, like if you're using a 70 to 200 like I am, this really helps support the lens and keeps it up whenever you're zooming out and zooming in. It just helps with the balance, and it works really well. SmallRig did a great job with this lens support. It's got some nice plastic and rubber wheels on it, so it really allows your lens to be able to flow smoothly as you're zooming out and in. So nice support there. You don't really need it if you're not using zoom lenses, but just in case you do, it doesn't hurt to have it. Now the next component is the V-mount battery plate. Now I put this on the back of the rig, and it comes with the rod mounts so you can tighten it up and make sure it stays in place. Now this is a crucial tool because it's the power hub for your rig. It comes with several different cables, and it also comes with the LPE6 dummy battery for your Canon EOS R6, which works really well. I haven't had any issues with it at all, burning out my camera or anything like that. I haven't had any problems with it. So it works really nicely, and it basically comes with several different cables that you can connect to the battery plate, and this allows you to be able to power not only the camera, but you can power the monitor, which we'll talk about later, and essentially any other accessories, and it's totally fantastic. Does a really good job. Also has USB ports, so if you need to charge anything outside of your camera equipment, you can do that as well. Now the battery that I chose to go with was the Kunlun 15,000 milliamp hour battery. Now this thing is an absolute monster. It's freaking huge. I think it's about 2.5 pounds, maybe 3 pounds in weight, so it's really heavy, but I chose to go with this one. Now you don't have to go with this one. You don't have to go with this big of a battery pack. You can actually go with the smaller one that's a little bit easier to handle, but I chose to go with this one because I didn't want to think about charging any of my batteries batteries at all when it comes to this video rig. I wanted to make sure that the power supply was strong enough to be able to withhold a whole day of shooting without me having to think about it. And this battery does just that. When I was down in Louisville here a couple weekends ago, I was able to shoot video, I was able to shoot photos, I was able to do everything for hours. Honestly, I was there the entire weekend and I maybe lost 1 bar of battery power. So it's absolutely fantastic. So if you just want that peace of mind to know that you're always gonna have power on your rig, then definitely go with this monster of a battery because it's super handy, has enough juice to power your whole rig and also have a little leftover to be able to charge your cell phone or basically anything else that you can plug in via USB. Now we're getting kind of towards the end. I know these are a lot of different components that we've put in here, but I wanted to make sure I got as detailed of a breakdown as I could. But the next piece that we're going to talk about is actually the wooden handle. Now the wooden handle on here is from SmallRig and it's very comfortable. I had this handle in my hand basically for hours on end when I was doing my shoots and I didn't feel any fatigue. It feels very nice on the hand and it's very good in terms of giving you additional support for the rig. I have it on the right side because I'm right-handed, so I'm able to keep it on the right side and kind of use my left hand as secondary support for the rig. And I have the neck strap for my camera attached to the cage, so I'm able to get kind of a 3-point of contact in terms of holding my rig up. And this handle is absolutely fantastic. It's very solid, and once you connect it in, if you do it properly, make sure you tighten it. It comes with a little tool on there that you can be able to tighten the side wheels on it and make sure that it's on there very nice and solid on your cage. Once you do that, you don't have to worry about it slipping or anything like that. It works really well, and on top of giving you additional support for your rig, it also has a cold shoe mount that allows you to be able to put your for me, I actually put the shotgun mic on there, and it allowed me to be able to capture better audio while I'm recording, and it gives me another place to mount things. So it does a lot. It comes in very handy, provides a lot of different options, and I think it's a very nice addition. I mean, you can go with different styles, but for me, this wooden one feels really good in the hand. All right, so now we're down to the last 3 pieces of the rig here. Now we're gonna talk about that top handle, and the top handle is obviously from SmallRig as well, but basically it comes with a NATO rail connection to your cage. You can shift it and adjust it where you're gripping. You can shift and adjust the grip pretty easily, but it also comes with a couple different mounting options, and my favorite one is the cold shoe that's on the front of the rail there. This makes it super easy to mount, something like the UURIG camera mounting bracket, and this is the one that I used, and I put it on the cold shoe for this handle. It's flexible, it's adjustable, allows you to be able to move and tilt the camera monitor however you want to do it. And on top of that mounting bracket, I use the Atomos Ninja V or Atomos Ninja V, whatever it is. I use that monitor and external recorder for my Canon EOS R6. Now, I love the Ninja. It's absolutely fantastic. I'll just call it the Ninja V. I don't know what it actually is, but I love the Ninja V because it does such a great job paired with this R6. I know the R6 does 10-bit internal recording and everything like that, but that 10-bit doesn't come out in ProRes. So the Ninja V makes it easier to be able to have clean footage, to be able to edit. It just makes my workflow a lot easier, but it also does one of the biggest benefits of the Ninja V when using it with the R6. It allows you to be able to bypass the overheating issues and also allows you to be able to bypass the recording limits, right? I think that the EOS R6 has a recording limit of about 30 minutes, and in 4K, you obviously have those famous overheating issues. The only time I've had the R6 overheat on me is when I was streaming at 4K 24, and that was kind of weird for me. I thought it only overheated when I was doing 60, but anyway, I decided to use the Ninja V to be able to do my recording externally, and it works out really well. I haven't hit any timer limits or any issues with overheating when I've been recording. I've been recording a ton of 4K 60 footage to the Atomos Ninja V, and it's worked perfectly. I haven't had to worry about overheating. Everything has just worked smoothly. So I highly recommend it. If you have an R6, make sure you use that Atomos Ninja V and make sure it's a part of your rig because it allows you to be able to have a bigger screen to monitor your footage as you're recording, as you're filming out on set, but it also allows you to be able to record without any limitations. It allows you to be able to get a really clean image that you can do good post-processing on. So Atomos Ninja V, the last component of my rig, and just finishing it all out, I think this rig has just worked really nicely for me. I haven't had any issues with it so far. We'll make sure it stays that way, but it's been really fantastic. So if you're looking to rig up your Canon EOS R6 and are trying to get some ideas or look into some options, hopefully this video will help you out, kind of letting you know what's out there, what's available, and what you can put together. And feel free to copy the rig if it fits you. Feel free to modify it. I'll link everything in the the description below, and you can kind of take a look at it for yourself. So hope this video helped you guys out. I know it's a lot of components to look through. I was trying to go through it as quickly as possible. So if you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe if you haven't yet, and tune in next time right here on Cashed Out. Got some really exciting stuff coming up here soon, and I definitely can't wait to release those out to you. So we'll talk to you guys on the next one. Take it easy.